The air in the livery stable still carried the ghosts of sandalwood, a cloying sweetness beneath the scent of gunpowder. Jedediah Stone brushed the dust from his trousers, the grit clinging to the worn fabric. Outside, redemption remained shuttered, a town holding its breath. He's been over the scene a dozen times, each pass revealing less than the last. A clean shot, professional, no witnesses willing to talk. "Anything, Clem?" he asked, his voice rough. Clem stood sentinel by the stable door, his young face grim. "Nothing, Marshal. Folks are scared. Say it's the reckoning, that Blackwood brought it on himself." Jed snorted. Superstition ran deep in these parts. Reckoning doesn't put a bullet through a man's heart. He turned back to the stable's interior, to where Blackwood had fallen. The dirt floor was meticulously swept, erasing any trace but the blood. Too meticulous. A man in Blackwood's line of work wouldn't bother with such niceties. "Thorne is waiting for you, Marshal," Clem said, his voice slow. Thorne, the wealthy landowner, seemingly distraught by his brother's death. Too composed, Jed thought. Grief rarely presented so neatly. He spent the better part of the morning with Thorne, a carefully orchestrated dance of questions and evasions. He found Thorne on the veranda of his sprawling estate, a picture of faded gentility against a backdrop of rolling hills and wildflowers. The air here was clean, scented with something sweeter than sandalwood, something almost fragile. "You seem remarkably calm for a man who's just lost his brother," Jed said, his voice flat. Thorne wrung his hands, a tremor in his touch. "It's a shock, Marshal. A terrible shock. Silas, he wasn't always easy, but he was my brother." "You hired a man to send a message to him, Mr. Thorne," Jed stated, cutting through the performance. Thorne's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing his features. "I didn't want him dead, Marshal. Just a warning. He was mixed up in things he shouldn't be." "Like what?" Thorne hesitated, swallowed hard. He was dealing with a shipping company out of New Orleans. Importing goods. "Exotic goods," Jed pressed. "Yes. Things not entirely legal, I suspect." Jed felt a familiar tightening in his gut. Blackwood's dealings were becoming increasingly convoluted. "And why didn't you report this to the authorities?" "It wasn't my place." Thorne's voice cracked, and for a moment Jed saw a glimpse of a man beneath the facade of wealth and respectability. A man scared. Jed leaned closer. "Tell me about the man you hired." "A drifter," Thorne said quickly. "Came through town a few weeks back. Quiet. Didn't ask questions. I paid him a sum to deliver a letter to Silas." "Did he have a name?" "No. He didn't say." Thorne averted his gaze, his hands trembling. "He wore a hat." "A distinctive hat?" "Dark felt. Wide brim. Nothing special." Jed felt the frustration building. Another dead end. Another carefully constructed lie. He scanned the meticulously manicured lawn, the fragrant flower beds. He noticed something then. A single crimson ruby nestled amongst the blooms, a flash of colour against the green. He knelt, carefully retrieving it. It was a part of any natural flower. "What's this?" he asked, holding it up. Thorne's face paled. He didn't answer. Jed knew then. This wasn't just about a family feud, or shady dealings. There was something bigger at play here, something deeper, and he was just scratching the surface. "I'm placing you under arrest, Elias Thorne," Jed said, his voice devoid of emotion, "for obstruction of justice and suspected involvement in the death of Silas Blackwood." Clem stepped forward, cuffing Thorne's hands behind his back. The wealthy landowner offered no resistance, his shoulders slumped in defeat. As they led him away, Jed looked back at the estate, at the meticulously ordered world that had just crumbled around him. He knew this wasn't over. He felt it in his bones. This was just the beginning. He had a feeling that the scent of sandalwood would linger long after Thorne was behind bars. And somewhere out there, a man in a dark hat was watching, waiting for his next move.